There are corners of our world that feel like they were never meant for human discovery. Not because they are buried deep beneath the ground or protected by barriers, but because what occurs within them challenges logic itself. The deeper you explore, the more confusion replaces understanding, as if these places resist explanation. Across the planet, strange phenomena unfold in ways that leave even the brightest minds searching for answers. There are locations where rivers vanish into dark openings and are never seen again. In certain deserts, massive stones slowly shift across the surface without any visible force, and no one has ever witnessed their movement in real time. Elsewhere, a lake experiences an unbelievable number of lightning strikes every year, turning the sky into a constant storm of energy. In a remote desert, a giant rock stands split into two perfect halves, separated by a force that experts still cannot explain. Far away in Peru, enormous designs stretch across the land so vast they can only be fully seen from above, created by people who had no ability to take to the skies. Researchers have traveled to each of these locations, bringing advanced tools, careful observations, and years of study. Yet despite all their effort, one truth remains unchanged. The answers are still beyond reach. This is a journey into 10 of the most mysterious places on Earth. Places that seem to exist outside the rules we understand. Watch closely until the very end, because the final mystery reveals a message carved into the planet itself over 1,000 years ago, a message that humanity has yet to fully understand. There are regions of the ocean that feel untouched by logic, places where the rules of nature seem to bend without warning. While many people are familiar with the mystery of the Bermuda Triangle, far fewer have heard of another area that is just as chilling, if not more unsettling. Hidden within the vast waters of the Pacific Ocean lies a zone that has earned a dark and enduring reputation. Stretching between the coast of Japan, the island of Guam, and the Bonin Islands, this region is known among local fishermen as the Devil's Sea. For generations, stories have circulated about vessels and aircraft that entered these waters and were never seen again. No emergency calls were sent. No wreckage was recovered. It is as if they simply disappeared from existence. One of the most haunting cases dates back to 1918, when the USS Cyclops, a large naval cargo ship carrying more than 300 crew members, passed through this area and vanished without any warning. There were no signals of distress, no floating debris, and no survivors. The ship was never located, making it one of the most significant non-combat losses in United States naval history. Even today, the reason behind its disappearance remains a complete mystery. Concern over these strange events grew so serious that in the 1950s, the Japanese government launched an official investigation. They sent a research vessel known as the Kyomaru no 5 to study the area. Yet in a disturbing turn, the ship and all 31 people on board disappeared without leaving a single trace behind. Those who have traveled through this region report deeply unsettling experiences. Navigation tools behave unpredictably, with compasses spinning or giving false readings. Electronic systems suddenly fail without explanation. Calm seas can transform into violent storms within moments, even when no warning appears in weather forecasts. This dangerous zone lies close to the Mariana Trench, the deepest known part of our planet. Beneath the surface, powerful forces are constantly at work, including underwater volcanic activity, extreme pressure changes, and complex geological formations that remain largely unexplored. Scientists have tried to make sense of these events. Some suggest that methane gas eruptions from the ocean floor could instantly reduce water density, causing ships to sink rapidly. Others believe that massive rogue waves, formed by colliding ocean currents, might overwhelm vessels without warning. There are also theories about magnetic disturbances caused by volcanic rock beneath the sea, interfering with navigation systems. Each explanation offers a piece of the puzzle, yet none can fully account for everything that happens here. The pattern of disappearances continues to defy complete understanding, leaving the Devil's Sea as one of the most mysterious and unsettling places on Earth. There are places on Earth that feel less like locations and more like questions waiting to be answered. Some mysteries fade with time as knowledge grows, yet others remain just as puzzling as the day they were discovered. Among all the wonders that challenge human understanding, One stands out as a silent message from the past, carved into the very surface of the planet. It is vast, it is ancient, and even after decades of study, it continues to resist complete explanation. In the coastal desert of southern Peru lies one of the most astonishing creations ever made by human hands, the Nazca Lines. Spread across nearly 174 square miles of flat, reddish-brown land, these markings stretch endlessly across the desert floor. At first glance, the terrain appears empty and lifeless, but hidden within it are hundreds of carefully crafted designs. Some of these shapes are simple and geometric, including long straight lines, triangles, and spirals that cut across the ground with surprising precision. Others are far more detailed, forming massive images of animals that seem almost alive when viewed from above. There is a delicate hummingbird with perfectly curved wings, a spider with symmetrical legs, a playful monkey with a spiraling tail, and a giant condor whose wings extend for hundreds of feet. Each figure is so large that it spans great distances across the desert. These incredible designs were created by the Nazca civilization, a culture that lived in this region from around 200 BCE to 600 CE. Their method was straightforward yet effective. They removed the dark stones that covered the desert surface, stones coated with iron oxide, to reveal the lighter, colored earth beneath. This contrast created visible lines and shapes. The desert's extreme dryness and still air have preserved these creations almost perfectly, protecting them from erosion for over 1,000 years. Despite understanding how they were made, a far greater mystery remains. From ground level, these designs are nearly impossible to recognize. The lines are shallow, and the shapes are so large that they appear as faint and meaningless markings in the soil. A person could walk directly across one of these figures without ever realizing it was there. Only from high above, hundreds of feet in the air, do the images reveal their true form. This raises a profound question. How did the Nazca people plan and create images that could only be properly seen from a perspective they could never physically reach? Without access to flight or elevated viewpoints, the process behind their design becomes incredibly difficult to explain. Some researchers suggest that the Nazca people used a system of grids, scaling small drawings into massive versions across the desert using ropes and wooden stakes. While this idea is technically possible, the remarkable precision of many figures challenges this explanation. The smooth curves of the hummingbird and the balanced proportions of the spider hint at a level of planning and accuracy that seems almost impossible to achieve from the ground alone. Other theories propose that the lines served as astronomical markers aligned with the movements of the sun, the moon, and the stars. Certain lines do appear to match important celestial events such as solstices. However, many of the figures do not correspond to any known astronomical patterns, making it unlikely that this theory alone can explain the entire phenomenon. Perhaps the most widely discussed idea is that the lines held spiritual significance. They may have been pathways used during rituals or offerings created for gods believed to observe from the sky. In this interpretation, the Nazca people were not creating these images for themselves, but for something beyond human sight, something they believed was watching from above. Among all the figures, one stands apart as especially intriguing. It is a humanoid form with an unusually large head, wide circular eyes, and a single hand raised upward. This figure has often been called the astronaut because of its resemblance to a person wearing a modern space suit. Its appearance has inspired countless theories suggesting contact with beings from beyond Earth. While there is no scientific evidence to support such claims, the image itself continues to fuel imagination and debate. What makes these lines truly extraordinary is not just their scale or their beauty, but the mystery that surrounds them. They were created by people who could not fully see the results of their work. They have endured for more than 1,000 years with almost no damage, and they form images that only reveal their meaning from a viewpoint far above the ground. The Nazca Lines are not hidden away or buried beneath layers of earth. They lie openly across the desert, visible to anyone who looks from the sky. Yet, despite years of research and countless studies, the most honest conclusion remains unchanged. We know who created them. We understand the method they used. but the true purpose behind them is still unknown. As this journey comes to an end, these mysteries remind us of how much of our world remains unexplained. From flames that continue to burn where logic says they should not, to stones that move without witnesses, to vast drawings created by people who could never fully see them, the Earth holds secrets that challenge everything we think we know. And perhaps some of those secrets were never meant to be fully understood. There are places on Earth that reveal their true form only from a perspective far beyond human reach. From the ground, they appear ordinary, almost invisible, blending into the landscape without drawing attention. Yet from high above, they transform into something extraordinary, shapes so precise and powerful that they seem almost intentional. One such place exists deep within the desert, quietly holding a mystery that continues to challenge explanation. In the vast expanse of the Sahara Desert, near the small town of Ouaddain in Mauritania, there lies a formation unlike anything else on the planet. Known as the Richet structure, this massive feature stretches across the desert with a diameter of nearly 25 miles. From ground level, it is almost impossible to recognize. A person could walk directly across its surface and never realize they were standing within something so remarkable. However, from space, the structure reveals its true nature. It appears as a series of perfectly arranged circular rings, forming a pattern that resembles a giant target etched into the earth. Many describe it as the iris of a colossal eye, staring upward into the sky. This striking appearance has earned it the nickname the Eye of Africa. When scientists first observed this formation in the 1930s, the most immediate explanation seemed obvious. Its circular shape and symmetry suggested that it must have been created by a meteorite impact. The idea made sense as many impact craters share similar features. Yet as geologists studied the area more closely, they found no evidence to support this theory. There were no signs of extreme heat, no shocked minerals, and none of the physical traces typically left behind by such a collision. The impact hypothesis was eventually dismissed. The explanation accepted today is far more gradual and complex. Scientists believe that the structure formed over millions of years through natural geological processes. A dome of rock was slowly pushed upward from beneath the surface, and over time, layers of rock with varying levels of hardness began to erode at different speeds. This process created the circular patterns that define the structure today. Even so, one question remains difficult to answer. Why did this erosion occur in such a nearly perfect circular form? Human history adds another layer to the mystery. Archaeological evidence shows that people lived in and around this region for hundreds of thousands of years. Stone tools and ancient weapons have been discovered scattered along the outer ridges of the formation, suggesting that early humans once inhabited the area. Yet in a curious contrast, the central region remains almost completely empty. There are no signs of settlement, no artifacts, and no clear evidence that anyone chose to live there. It is as if ancient people avoided the center entirely. This absence has led to speculation and imagination. Some researchers have proposed that this structure may have inspired ancient stories, including the description of Atlantis by Plato. According to these theories, the circular design of the structure resembles the legendary city described in ancient writings. While the dimensions and location share certain similarities, there is no solid evidence to confirm this idea. The Richet structure remains one of the most fascinating geological features on Earth. It stands quietly in the desert, visible only from above, its gaze fixed toward the sky. After all these years, it continues to exist without revealing its full story, as if it is still watching and waiting to be understood. There are places on our planet where nature seems to repeat the same impossible miracle again and again, as if trapped in a cycle beyond human understanding. These are not ordinary storms or random flashes of weather. They are events so consistent and intense that they blur the line between science and mystery. One such place exists where the sky never truly rests and lightning becomes a permanent part of the horizon. In northwestern Venezuela lies the vast waters of Lake Maracaibo, a region unlike any other on Earth. Here, above the point where the Catatumbo River meets the lake, a phenomenon unfolds with astonishing regularity. Known as the Catatumbo lightning, This event produces some of the most concentrated electrical storms ever recorded on the planet. Almost every night, the skies above this region erupt into brilliant flashes of light. It is not a brief storm or a passing weather event. Instead, lightning strikes appear thousands of times in a single night, continuing for as long as 10 hours without interruption. This pattern repeats itself for roughly 140 to 160 nights each year, generating an estimated 1 million lightning bolts annually. What makes this phenomenon even more extraordinary is its consistency. The storms form almost exclusively over the same section of water, often at similar hours of the night. For centuries, this natural display has been so reliable and so intense that sailors navigating the nearby waters of the Gulf of Venezuela have used its glow as a natural guide. From distances of more than 200 miles, the sky above the lake can be seen flickering with continuous light, helping ships orient themselves in the darkness. From the shoreline, the view is both beautiful and overwhelming. The sky does not flash like a typical thunderstorm. Instead, it pulses steadily, almost rhythmically, as if the atmosphere itself is alive with energy. The lightning often produces little or no audible thunder at a distance, creating an eerie silence broken only by the visual rhythm of light. Reflections of white and violet illuminate the surface of the lake, turning the night into a glowing spectacle. Scientists have studied this phenomenon for decades, but the explanation remains incomplete. The most widely accepted theory suggests that it is the result of a unique combination of atmospheric conditions. Warm, moisture-rich air rising from the nearby Caribbean Sea collides with cold air descending from the Andes Mountains. This interaction creates powerful updrafts above the flat surface of the lake, which helps sustain and intensify the electrical storms. The surrounding topography appears to channel and concentrate these winds, allowing the storm cycle to regenerate night after night. However, while this explains the basic ingredients, it does not fully account for the extreme intensity or the precise location of the phenomenon. Other regions in the world experience similar air collisions, yet none produce lightning on this scale or with this level of consistency. Some researchers have proposed additional factors. One idea suggests that methane gas released from underground oil deposits beneath the lake may be ionizing the air, increasing electrical activity and intensifying the storms. Another theory points to the unique mineral composition of the surrounding terrain, which could influence how electrical charges build and discharge in the atmosphere. Despite these explanations, the mystery remains unsolved. The Catatumbo lightning has been active for at least several centuries and possibly even longer, yet no single theory fully accounts for its power or persistence. It continues to strike the sky with unmatched frequency, lighting up the night like a never-ending storm. Above Lake Maracaibo, nature puts on the longest-lasting light show on Earth. And even today, the world still does not fully understand how it keeps going night after night, as if the sky itself refuses to turn off its lights. There are places in the world where silence is not just the absence of sound, but something far deeper and more unsettling. Locations where the natural order seems to break down, where invisible forces interfere with the very tools we rely on to understand our surroundings. Among these strange regions, one desert stands out as a place where communication itself begins to fade, leaving behind only confusion and unanswered questions. Deep within the Chihuahuan Desert, in the Mexican state of Durango, lies a vast and isolated area covering nearly 1,500 square miles. This region has become known as the Zone of Silence, a name earned through decades of strange and consistent reports. Those who enter this area with electronic devices quickly notice something unusual. Signals that work perfectly outside its boundaries suddenly fail once inside. Radios lose connection without warning. Navigation systems begin to behave unpredictably. Compasses refuse to stabilize, spinning aimlessly as if unable to find direction. It is as though the desert itself disrupts communication, cutting off the invisible lines that connect people to the outside world. This phenomenon first drew global attention in 1970 when an American test missile, launched from the White Sands Missile Range, unexpectedly veered off its intended path. Instead of reaching its target, it crashed directly into this mysterious region. When a recovery team was sent to investigate and retrieve the debris, they encountered something far more troubling than a simple crash site. As soon as they entered the area, their radio equipment stopped functioning. Attempts to contact their base failed completely. Even communication between team members became nearly impossible beyond short distances. The silence they experienced was not ordinary. It was complete and absolute, isolating them in a way that defied expectation. Since that event, scientists and researchers have returned to study the region many times, searching for a logical explanation. One widely accepted idea is that the soil contains unusually high levels of magnetic minerals, such as magnetite and iron deposits. These materials can interfere with radio waves, potentially explaining why signals weaken or disappear. Another curious detail adds to the mystery. This zone lies along a similar latitude to both the Egyptian pyramids and the Bermuda Triangle. While this alignment has sparked speculation, there is no scientific evidence linking these locations in any meaningful way. What makes the zone of silence especially puzzling is the inconsistency of its effects. Not all devices fail at the same time. Some equipment continues to work while others stop completely. The areas where signals disappear do not remain fixed. Instead, they seem to shift and change, behaving more like weather patterns than a stable geological feature. One moment communication may be possible, and the next it is gone without explanation. Adding to the mystery is the unusually high number of meteorites found within this desert. Compared to other regions, this area has experienced a remarkable concentration of impacts. The reason behind this remains unknown, leaving researchers with yet another unanswered question. Individually, each of these phenomena could be explained through science. Magnetic interference, shifting conditions, and meteorite activity all have possible causes. Yet when they occur together within the same isolated stretch of desert, they form a pattern that no single explanation can fully address. The zone of silence remains exactly what its name suggests. A place where signals fade, where certainty disappears, and where the quiet holds more mystery than answers. There are places in nature where reality seems to break in subtle but unsettling ways, where even something as familiar as flowing water begins to behave like a mystery. In these rare locations, the landscape hides secrets that challenge logic and leave scientists searching for answers that never fully arrive. One such place exists deep within the forests of the northern United States, where a river appears to vanish into the earth itself. Inside Judge C.R. Magny State Park in northern Minnesota, the Brule River winds through thick woodland toward the vast waters of Lake Superior. About a mile before reaching the lake, the river reaches a rocky formation that changes everything. At this point, the river splits into two separate flows. The right side continues its natural course, tumbling down a waterfall and eventually making its way toward the lake like any ordinary river would. But the left side behaves in a way that defies expectation. Instead of flowing onward, the water plunges directly into a deep, dark opening carved into the rock. This is where it disappears completely from view. For decades, this strange phenomenon has fascinated researchers and visitors alike. Scientists have attempted countless experiments to understand where the water goes. They have poured colored dye into the opening to track its path. They have dropped lightweight objects such as ping-pong balls into the void. They have even sent floating logs and electronic tracking devices into the hole, hoping for some kind of signal or recovery. Yet nothing has ever returned. No object that enters this mysterious opening has ever been seen again anywhere downstream or in nearby waters. This has led to one of the most puzzling questions in hydrology. If the water disappears here, where does it actually go? The most logical explanation suggests that the water must eventually rejoin the main river or empty into Lake Superior through an underground passage. Observations show that the river's flow increases after the waterfall, which supports the idea that the missing water does return somehow. However, the mystery remains unsolved because no dye has ever been detected, no tracking device has ever transmitted a signal, and no physical object has ever resurfaced. Scientists have proposed several theories to explain this phenomenon. One possibility is that the water enters a vast underground cave system that has not yet been fully explored or mapped. Another idea suggests that the water travels through extremely narrow fractures within the basalt rock, where only liquid can pass through. In such a system, any solid object might be broken down or destroyed before it could ever emerge again. Despite these explanations, none have been confirmed. The behavior of this site continues to resist complete understanding. The left side of the river simply disappears into the rock, as if the earth itself is swallowing it whole. Known as the Devil's Kettle, this natural formation has been absorbing half of the Brule River for as long as people have known it. And in all that time, it has never returned anything it has taken, leaving behind a mystery that still flows without answer. There are places in the world where the night sky does not behave as expected, where light itself seems to take on a life of its own. In these rare locations, strange phenomena appear without warning, defying explanation even after decades of careful study. One such mystery unfolds in a quiet valley deep within the landscapes of northern Europe, where glowing forms continue to appear in the darkness, leaving scientists both fascinated and puzzled. In a remote valley of central Norway, unusual lights have been observed for many years. These glowing phenomena were first consistently recorded in the early 1980s and have remained a subject of intense scientific interest ever since. Over time, they have been captured in photographs, recorded on video, and analyzed using advanced scientific instruments. Yet despite more than 40 years of investigation, their origin remains unknown. Known as the Hessdalen Valley Lights, these luminous orbs appear in a variety of colors, including white, yellow, and sometimes even blue. They hover above the valley floor, suspended in midair as if unaffected by gravity. At times, they remain completely still, glowing softly in one place. At other moments, they move rapidly across the sky, changing direction in ways that seem almost intelligent. Their duration is equally unpredictable. Some appearances last only a few seconds before fading away, while others persist for hours, illuminating the valley in silence. They can occur during the night or occasionally in daylight, with no consistent timing or recognizable pattern. There is no schedule, no rhythm, and no clear explanation for when or why they appear. During periods of frequent activity in the 1980s, sightings became so common that researchers established a permanent observation station in the valley. Equipped with cameras, radar systems, spectrographs, and magnetometers, scientists carefully monitored every occurrence. The lights were repeatedly recorded, confirming that they are real physical phenomena. Measurements showed that they produced detectable electromagnetic signals, proving they are not illusions, reflections, or aircraft. Despite confirming their physical presence, scientists still struggle to explain what causes them. Several theories have been proposed over the years. One idea suggests that the lights are formed by ionized gases or plasma created when metallic minerals in the surrounding rocks interact with specific atmospheric conditions. Another theory proposes a process known as piezoelectricity, where pressure within shifting bedrock generates electrical charges that manifest as visible light. A third explanation focuses on the valley's unique geological structure. It contains deposits of copper and zinc on opposite sides, and some researchers believe that the river flowing between them may act like a natural electrolyte. This could potentially create a large-scale natural battery, producing electrical energy that appears as glowing orbs in the sky. However, none of these theories have been conclusively proven. Each explanation accounts for certain aspects of the phenomenon, but fails to fully describe its complexity or consistency. The lights continue to appear without warning, and scientific instruments continue to capture their presence. Today, the Hessdalen Valley remains a focal point for researchers, curious visitors, and enthusiasts drawn to the unknown. Many come hoping to witness the lights firsthand, sitting in silence under the dark sky, waiting for a phenomenon that has been carefully recorded but never fully understood. As the journey through these mysteries continues, even greater unknowns lie ahead. And for those still watching, the question remains not just what these lights are, but what other secrets the world has yet to reveal. There are places on Earth where nature creates formations so precise that they seem impossible, as if shaped by intelligence rather than time. In the middle of vast, silent deserts, where wind and sand dominate the landscape, Certain geological structures stand out so sharply that they challenge everything we assume about natural processes. One such formation exists in the remote wilderness of the Arabian Peninsula, where a single rock appears to have been divided with extraordinary perfection. In the northwestern region of Saudi Arabia, approximately 31 miles south of the Al-Ula Oasis, there stands a remarkable sandstone boulder in the open desert. This structure rises about 20 feet high and spans roughly 30 feet in width. What makes it extraordinary is not its size, but the way it has been divided. The rock appears as though it has been sliced cleanly into two equal halves by an invisible force. A perfectly straight vertical gap runs from top to bottom, separating the formation into two distinct sections. The precision of this division is so remarkable that it resembles a cut made by advanced technology rather than natural forces. The two halves remain standing upright, supported by narrow natural bases, giving the impression that the structure could collapse at any moment. Yet despite its fragile appearance, it has remained stable for thousands of years. This formation, known as Al-Nazca Rock, has become famous for its astonishing symmetry. The gap between the two halves is almost perfectly even from top to bottom, with edges so smooth and aligned that they appear artificially engineered. There are no jagged surfaces, no irregular breaks, and no signs of natural fracture patterns typically seen in sandstone formations. Adding to its mystery, ancient carvings known as petroglyphs can be found on the surface of the rock. These engravings depict animals and symbolic figures that date back thousands of years. Their presence suggests that this formation held cultural or spiritual significance for the people who once inhabited the region long before modern history began. Geologists have attempted to explain how such a precise split could have formed. One commonly accepted theory is that the rock was gradually divided through a process called freeze-thaw weathering. In this process, water seeps into small cracks, freezes, expands, and slowly forces the rock apart over long periods of time. Another possibility is that tectonic forces or natural stress fractures within the sandstone created a clean separation along a weak point in the rock. However, these explanations do not fully resolve the mystery. Natural fractures typically produce uneven surfaces, rough edges, and irregular breaks. They are chaotic in appearance, shaped by unpredictable environmental forces. In contrast, the split in this rock is strikingly clean and uniform, extending with near-perfect straightness through its entire structure. Despite extensive study, no evidence of human tools or external manipulation has been found. There are no markings, no abrasion patterns, and no traces of carving or cutting instruments. Whatever caused this separation left no visible sign of interference. Because of this, the formation continues to challenge scientific understanding. Every visitor who stands before it is struck by the same thought. The precision of the split feels unnatural, almost deliberate, as if the rock was intentionally divided by an unseen force. The Al-Nazca Rock remains one of the most visually striking and scientifically puzzling formations in the desert, standing silently as a reminder that nature still holds secrets that defy easy explanation. There are places in nature where opposing forces meet in ways that should cancel each other out, yet somehow continue to exist together. Fire and water are two elements that are expected to destroy one another instantly, leaving no trace behind. But in rare corners of the world, nature creates exceptions that challenge this basic understanding. One such mystery exists quietly behind a waterfall in the forests of North America, where a flame continues to burn in the most unlikely setting imaginable. Inside Chestnut Ridge Park in western New York, a small waterfall hides an extraordinary phenomenon. Behind the curtain of flowing water, a steady flame flickers against dark, wet rock. It glows with an orange light that seems out of place in such a damp environment, unaffected by the constant presence of water cascading in front of it. This phenomenon, known as the eternal flame falls, is not an illusion or a seasonal occurrence. The flame is real and has been observed burning throughout the year. It sits within a small rocky alcove at the base of the waterfall, where natural gas escapes through cracks in the stone. This gas feeds the flame, allowing it to persist even in conditions where fire should not survive. Visitors sometimes relight the flame if wind or water temporarily extinguishes it, but for most of the time it sustains itself naturally. The idea of a fire existing behind a waterfall seems contradictory, as though two opposing forces are sharing the same space without interfering with one another. While natural gas seeps are found in many regions across the world, the case of eternal flame falls presents a deeper scientific puzzle. Typically, methane gas is produced when organic material is broken down under extremely high temperatures deep underground. This process usually requires intense heat within the Earth's crust. However, geological studies of the area beneath Chestnut Ridge Park suggest that the rock formations are not hot enough to support the standard conditions required for such gas production. The temperature is significantly lower than what is normally associated with large-scale methane generation. In 2013, researchers from Indiana University conducted detailed studies on the site. Their findings confirmed that the geological conditions beneath the waterfall do not align with any known models of methane production at this level. This means that while the gas is clearly present and the flame is undeniably real, the process responsible for creating the gas does not fit existing scientific explanations. The flame itself is small, often no larger than a human hand, yet its presence carries a sense of something far greater. It is believed to have been burning in some form for thousands of years, continuing quietly in a place where natural conditions should not allow it to exist. What makes this phenomenon even more intriguing is not just its existence, but its persistence despite scientific understanding. Every attempt to fully explain it has led to the same outcome. The pieces of the puzzle do not fit together within current geological models. The eternal flame falls remains a place where fire defies water and where nature appears to break its own rules. Beneath the surface of this quiet waterfall, something continues to burn, reminding us that even in well-studied parts of the world, there are still mysteries waiting to be understood. There are places on Earth where nature seems to bend reality itself, where even solid stone appears to break the rules of motion. In these rare landscapes, time, wind, and Earth work together to create strange events that leave undeniable traces behind, yet the exact moment they occur is never seen. One of the most astonishing examples of this mystery lies deep within one of the harshest deserts on the planet, where massive rocks appear to glide across the ground as if moved by an unseen force. Deep within the barren expanse of Racetrack Playa in Death Valley National Park, a strange phenomenon has puzzled observers for decades. Here, on a flat and cracked dry lakebed, large stones and even heavy boulders weighing over 600 pounds have been found with long trails etched behind them in the hardened mud. These trails stretch across the surface in unpredictable patterns. Some run in perfectly straight lines for hundreds of feet. Others curve gently, while some suddenly change direction in sharp and unexpected turns. The evidence clearly shows movement, yet no human has ever witnessed the rocks actually traveling across the ground. For many years, these so-called sailing stones were considered one of the most baffling unsolved puzzles in geology. Various theories were proposed, ranging from magnetic forces and unusual wind patterns to more speculative ideas involving hoaxes or unknown external influences. Scientists installed cameras, motion detectors, and GPS tracking devices, waiting for years in hopes of capturing the movement. But nothing happened during their observation. The stones remained still, as if they only moved when unobserved. A breakthrough finally came in 2014 when researchers were able to document the phenomenon under very specific natural conditions. During rare winter nights, a thin layer of water spreads across the playa. When temperatures drop, this water freezes into delicate sheets of ice. As morning sunlight warms the surface, these ice sheets begin to break apart into large floating panels. Driven by light winds, these ice panels slowly glide across the muddy surface. As they move, they gently push the rocks along with them, creating the long trails that remain visible long after the ice has melted. The movement is incredibly slow, sometimes only a few inches per minute, making it impossible to observe with the naked eye in real time. Although this explanation solved the primary mystery, it also revealed how rare the phenomenon truly is. The exact combination of water levels, freezing temperatures, wind strength, and ice thickness must align perfectly for the stones to move. In most years, these conditions never occur at all. Even more intriguing, some trails do not fully match the ice movement theory. Certain stones show sudden stops, sharp directional changes, and paths that diverge in ways that suggest additional unknown influences may still be at work. The scientific explanation may have answered part of the mystery, but it did not erase the wonder. The stones of racetrack playa still move, but only under conditions so rare that witnessing them remains almost impossible. Every one of these places is real. Everyone exists right now. And everyone reminds us that this planet still holds secrets we are only beginning to understand. If you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, tell us in the comments which mystery amazed you the most. And don't forget to subscribe to the Forbidden Fathoms channel and turn on notifications, because the next story will take you even deeper into the impossible.